Good evening, guys. It is episode 47, Sunday night, and Sunday, March 3rd. And we're just below 64,000. So that means only 4,000 really more until we hit an all-time high. I'm pretty confident we're going to take that out next week. And let's go immediately to the, let me go to the charts real quick and take a look. So here we are at 63,807. And, this thing is just on fire, right? And it's on fire. And by the way, it's on fire for one reason, right? So this thing did not look that great here. And then basically we have the ETF that came out, right? So, and the ETF just said, boom, we're just going to start going up massively. So, just to put things back a little bit more in perspective, this huge move that we did in 2020, this is how big it was relative to the 2017 move. And I think we're going to make something of similar kind of magnitude here. I think we're going to go much, much higher. It would not surprise me if we go to 200, 300,000 in the next 12 months. So things are going absolutely crazy. And I just want to reemphasize that it is, to a large extent, due to the ETF. So, I don't want to single out Lynn Alden because she's not the only person to sort of poo-poo this ETF. But it's amazing to me that she would say on January 8th that the Bitcoin ETF is the most boring thing about Bitcoin right now. It's just an amazing statement. That's almost the Jamie Dimon level. But it's even more amazing in an interview with Blue Collar Bitcoin, who I just talked to. She titled her talk, "Why the Bitcoin ETF May Be Overblown." So very, very skeptical on the ETF, 6 weeks ago, right? And so exactly what do we have? We had one of the most amazing 4 weeks ever in the world history of anything in terms of the CTF. So I definitely think we're going much higher. I'm just going to close this thing. I'm going to make it a short episode, but I do want to talk just briefly about this power law because everybody said, Fred, you've gone from super bullish to super bearish. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about, man? I am bearish. I am not at all bearish. And my portfolio allocation is so bullish that it's just incredibly bullish, and I'm up an ungodly amount of money since January. This has been one of the best 2 months of my trading life ever. Probably the best 2 months. And so, anyways, I just want to talk a little bit about this power law. Which there's a bunch of people who have found this power law. But once you see it, as Giovanni said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And so, again, what is this thing? You're pricing Bitcoin price, okay, in logarithmic terms. You're also pricing the time since the Genesis block in logarithmic terms. And what do we observe? We observe very, very clearly that the progression is linear, okay? Very clearly. And so what does this mean? Well, it means that the growth of Bitcoin since the origin, since inception, was more or less a power law, meaning it's sort of roughly time to the power 6 divided by 100 if you get really technical. But it's time to the power 6. It goes up as the 6th power of time. And it has been doing that for the last 15 years. So if you ask me, just my guess, I guess that probably we're going to stay within this range in the next 15 years, maybe even the next 30 years, okay? And so what does that mean for the price of Bitcoin? Really the price of Bitcoin, could go up quite a bit. and it could go up quite a bit, not even on this trend line. It could go way above this trend line. It could go all the way up. As you see here, it went, really way above the trend line. So a similar kind of move above the trend line here, let's say it kind of just grows here. This thing would put us in a year or two, roughly, right, to a couple 100,000, 300,000, right? It sort of says in this chart that kind of you wouldn't really expect to break out of 1 million before 2028, right? Which is only 4 years away, So could we get to 1 million in 4 years? Yeah, we probably could get to 1 million in 4 years. Maybe it's 5 years. But, everybody's sitting there going, Fred, you're too bearish. We need to get to 1 million tomorrow. Well, that's not the way this works, right? This works as I'm looking at the data, and the data saying it's a power law, and I have no reason not to believe that it's not going to continue to be a power law for the next, for the next 4 to 5 years. Now, am I bullish on these ETFs? 100% I'm bullish on these ETFs. But I think what's happening in the evolution of Bitcoin, right, from the very beginning, is there's these sort of events that are needed along the way to get it to the next level. So what are some of those events? Well, the first cryptocurrency exchange, Mt. Gox, the first exchange for Bitcoin, so you could actually buy Bitcoin and sell it, right? Very important, right, to have an exchange. The first, sorry about that, guys. So the first cryptocurrency exchange, very important. The first buying of Bitcoin by a corporate, Michael Saylor, in 2020, very important, right? And now the advent of the ETFs, also very, very important, Eventually a bigger government, or let's throw in El Salvador, okay? 2021, right? Very important, okay? Important that it's a milestone, right? So we have these milestones, and this ETF is a very big milestone. I think it's gonna propel Bitcoin price much higher than it would without the ETF. But I still don't think we're going to get to 1 million within 3 years. With 4 years, maybe. Three that would be very aggressive. But yeah, who knows? It could happen, right? So I'm not bearish. And furthermore, people are like, well, it's going to go to 100 million. No, it won't go to 100 million because the only way it gets to 100 million is the dollar significantly depreciates, because you just take the amount of Bitcoin, 21 million, and you multiply that by 100 million, and you get 2 quadrillion. Well, all of the real estate, all of the stocks, all of the debt, all of the bonds, all the currency is worth less than 1 quadrillion. So it's just, the math does not work. Sorry. Anyways, I just think if you're interested in making money, you really you need to try to be a little bit more reasonable with your targets. And so my target is $1 million Bitcoin within the next 7 years. If it happens within the next 4 years, fantastic, great. But that's sort of my kind of target within the next 7-8 years. So with that, and by the way, I'm sort of saying somewhere around 10 to 20 million Bitcoin target, sort of that's your final target. And after that, it still can go up, but it can't go up more than GDP, right? Because at that point, you're at sort of 20% of the world GDP, the world wealth, not even world GDP. You're at the 20% of the world wealth. And so there's sort of limits to growth. So I generally think we're in the super, super bullish period. In terms of the progression from Bitcoin to that sort of final level, we're at 1%, right? So we could go up 10x just like butter. I mean, we could go up to 1 million, no problem at all. Once we get into the million range, the 1 million, it's going to be a lot more difficult. There's going to be a lot more issues getting from 1 million to 10 million, because that's going to be the sort of the threshold, right? And you're going to need, and it may slow. It may even take longer. It may not be at the same rate from 1 million to 10 million. So I think that's the case. And And I just messaged Giovanni earlier today, and we were talking about that, and he said, I said, is there a lot of case where a power law ends up looking more like an S law, right? After the sort of the initial thing. He said, yeah, like teeth growing in, right, is sort of like that. They grow in sort of like a power law, and then they stop, right? So, anyways, that's episode 47. I hope you haven't felt like I've insulted you, Lynn Eldon. I didn't mean it that way. But I do think we have to focus on the actual calls, the actual good calls, right? And that was not a good call. That was a bad call. So hopefully we're still cool. And I will catch you guys on episode 48.